So generics have been available in Go for quite a while, but I still think that they have been a bit of misunderstood and avoided by many developers. So I'll try to show how to use them and how they can help you simplify your code with a few examples. So let's take a look at, I have prepared a really simple API. We have two endpoints, users and companies, and the response for users looks like this. As you can see, we have a data, which is an array of user items, and then some metadata in the form of pagination. And then we have this pretty much the same for companies. The only difference here is that the array in the data attribute contains the company's data and it has a bit of a different structure. And if we look at this parsing Go, we'll see that we have two methods, get users and get companies. What they do is they make an HTTP call to the API, parse the response and return the data using a few predefined structs, like we have one for users, one for user response that matches the JSON structure that we saw, and the same for company. And of course we have a few tests. We have a main function where we start the API server that we're using for this example, and test get users and test get companies, which actually make a call and verify that what we get back is the expected data parsed to the types we have defined. So if we run the test, we see everything is green, everything is perfect. But the problem is that I really don't like this code. I mean, if you look at this one and this one, they're pretty much the same. The only difference is the type of the result, and also we have quite a duplication here in the company response and in the user response. Of course, you can solve the duplication here with composition, but I want to show you a different way today, and that will be using generics. So let's start with creating a new generic type that will be API response. And we'll say that the API response will take a parameter t_any. What exactly this do, we'll see in a second. So we want to say that we have a data attribute, which is a slice of t, and then we have the paging attribute, which is the struct we already saw. So now in users, instead of creating this result user response, we'll use the API response of type user. And now if we run the test, we should see that everything will be okay. Here we're running the get users test. Everything is working fine. That means that we no longer need the user response. And we can do the same with, oh, there's a small typo here. So yes, API response, everything is working. And then we can do the same with companies. So we're getting rid of this company response. Instead of that, we'll do API response of type company. So running both tests, we see that everything is green, everything is great. So yeah, pretty much this is what generics do. You just provide that, you define that you'll provide some type, you define how you want to use it, and then at the place where you need it, you just use it. But what I don't like here is that still, okay, we don't have the two separate API responses, but the code here and here is pretty much the same. So let's see if we can make it better. What is the difference? The difference is the type of the result, and the difference is the URL. So let's start and create a new method. We'll call this function get API result, get API data. Okay, we'll provide t_any, and then we'll provide the URL that's string, and it will return a slice of the same type t. And what we'll make the same get code, this time passing the URL. We'll check for the error, and then we'll also use the response t. We'll use the response t, we'll parse it, we'll return, and then at the end we'll return result.data and no error. Okay, let's see if we try to use this one in our tests. Here we are. Instead of get users, we'll call get API data. We'll pass the URL for the API. Here it goes. Oh yeah, it's red because we're not passing the type, so we need to say that it will be of type user. If we run this one, green, perfect. So then we can do the same here. Instead of get companies, we'll say get API data. We want it to be of type company. We want to pass the company's URL. And now if we run both tests, we'll see that they're all green. So this is it. We saw how we can use generics to parameterize types. Here's our parameterized type, the API response. And we also saw that we can use generics to parameterize functions. So we no longer need this one. We don't need this one. As you can see, our code now is much simpler. Yeah, of course, this doesn't look like really production ready. That's normal. I think what's important here to see that if this API gets more complex, like adding more endpoints, or we want to handle the paginations that we're not handling at the moment, having parameterized type will really help you reduce the code duplication. It will be easier for you to refactor it later if you have to. So I think it's a really nice feature in Go, and I hope you also like it and start using it. Thank you.